heard some great advice from a rabbi. It was Daniel Lapin. If you've ever listened to him, he's got a great podcast. But he said, in America right now, everybody's all about finding out what they're passionate about and doing that. Whereas what we should be doing is finding out what is needed and then getting passionate about that. And that has produced good fruit in my businesses. That's led to my businesses and changes of what I wanted to do versus what was actually needed by society and by people. And it was very fruitful. It started producing financial success and things like that, rather than me just beating my head against the wall constantly trying to get people to need what I wanted to do. So great advice. Well, that's happening with the church as well. Since a young age, I've known that I have been called, if you will. I hate using religious speak, but God has made me to where I know that I'm going to speak to the church and to the world in some ways. But without getting all into that, I've been told throughout life, that I need to back off of this thing. It's always been acknowledged. Nobody's come out directly against it. What they come out against is my attitude, and not necessarily attitude, more the message that I end up speaking. It is unadulterated, blunt, and unbelievable to the natural mental faculties a lot of times and stuff. And so, I've had pastors over the years try and take me under their wing and calm me down. And I've had older men, want to calm me down and essentially silence me in a polite way without saying that they're silencing me. See, stuff like that, like where I just come out and say, they're trying to silence me. It's just a little too brash for a pastor. And, I've pastored some, and I've also had ministries where I just speak and things like that. Well, so what I'm saying is I'm not unfamiliar with the church world and ministry and stuff like this, but it's time for a real reformation. And it's not pretty, and it's not liked by the masses except in unique circumstances. As a matter of fact, Reformation bringers often go contrary to the masses, and eventually the little sheep people catch on, and then it's the coolest thing ever. Usually after you've died. There's a lot of great people that have done things that didn't become popular until after they died. So I've been accused of seeking popularity before. That's definitely not what I'm after. I'd be preaching your message, Mr. Accuser there. But nonetheless, but really, pastors want to be popular, and it's disgusting. And it's created a disgusting situation in the church where the world and even Christians, quote unquote, everybody calls themselves a Christian now, Christians and the church and the world, not the real church, but the American perversion of the church and the judicial branch, the lawyers and the courts, have this idea that the freedom of religion provided in the First Amendment is so that we don't want to take away, believers' playtime. We don't want to take away their little concept of God, so that we don't need to mess with that. We can go about our business and do the real stuff without messing with that. And that's what our forefathers meant, was just kind of leave them alone. Well, that's not what the forefathers meant. Because God is not a little compartmentalized play toy over here that gets out of the way when real problems happen, like with this coronavirus nonsense. Hillsborough County, I believe it was in Florida, tried to tell Pastor Rodney Howard Brown that he couldn't have church, and then arrested him because he had church, because it's too dangerous. And then you read through the news feed, you got people that are, he should have been arrested. He's an idiot. this is dangerous. It's churches where these things are spreading, blah, 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 blah. They thought that God was supposed to stay over here under government guidance, under the guidance of science. You can't put God under all of those things when God is over all of those things. And so, is God real or is he not? Well, we're finding out that for a large piece of the church in America, he's not. God falls under science. I'm not anti-science. I'm anti-atheistic science. When your science doesn't have God at its root, it's wrong. When facts don't have God at its root, it's wrong. And if you don't understand that facts change based on their root, then you're ignorant. Because, for example, we'll talk about this coronavirus thing for a minute because that's what's popular. It's not a debate, of who's right and who's wrong. Should we have church? Should we not? Each pastor's got to make that decision. And I'm not telling people to go to church and stuff when they believe that they're going to get sick. What I'm saying is we should have at least some of the church that's mature enough to stand up and say, no plague comes near my dwelling. God says, lay hands on the sick and they'll recover. He doesn't say, lay hands on the non-contagious, non-serious people and they'll recover. He doesn't say that. Jesus put his hand on a leper. Could you imagine in modern society, it would be Jesus in jail, not Pastor Brown? Oh, we're supposed to obey the government. Man, this argument has been beat to death with nonsense. It's very shallow and ill thought out. Romans chapter 13, I know what the Bible says. It was written by Paul, who went to prison, over 13 times and then was eventually executed for disobeying the government? He's saying respect the authorities, pay your taxes. But when it interferes with God, when it interferes with the church is the big dog in this world. You may not know it. We may not realize it yet. The church is the big dog on this earth. And Satan has been lying to it and said, you are under government. You are under all these things. No. Paul was saying, don't fight the government unnecessarily. The government needs taxes. We've got a good government in America. Oh, gosh. We've got a good system of government in America. I'm not saying don't pay your tax. I'm not advocating for anarchy. But you've got to be able to think and distinguish between what's going on here. Which apostle wasn't arrested by their government for disobeying it? I'm waiting. I'm not going to wait too long because you can't find one. And we're in that time now where, because of they're using the seriousness of the coronavirus, because their thought process, the world's thought process and the progressive, humanistic, secular thought process is a deadly virus is so serious, that'll be enough to get them to submit. What do you think we are? They think it's a game. Sadly, a lot of Christians have been playing a game. Quote unquote Christians. I use that term, and I'm not talking about people that literally believe. I'm talking about these people that show up in churches and are weak as can be. Weak as the world. They run to the world. You got pastors and churches and Christians running to the government and to the world, saying, please help us, help us. We'll do what you say. We'll stop meeting. Tell us what we need to do to be well. It's what people used to run to Jesus and say. It's disgusting to me. I'm sure you can kind of sense the anger here. It's disgusting. It's the lukewarm people that God says, I want to vomit you out of my mouth. And I understand. I want to throw you out. I want you out of me. You make me sick. That's just too hard. That's just too hard. Oh, now are you paralyzed in condemnation? It's not you that's condemned. Wake up! It's that gross, sick thinking you've got. It's got to be removed. It's disgusting. Quit being so weak. Get up. You know what it was like when Jesus told a man who was paralyzed to get up? How rude. This man can't get up. And Jesus had the nerve to go tell him to get up. It's like telling somebody with coronavirus to get over it. How rude. But it's not rude. It's the power of God. Get over it. Believe that. You have the power and ability to walk out of that thing unharmed. Get up. No plague comes near you, but a plague came near me. Well, then it's wrong. No plague comes near you, and it's gone. It's vanished. God works like that. God's not the slightest bit intimidated by this coronavirus, and He's not the slightest bit interested in you putting all your stuff together to help Him address it and then say it was God. That's ridiculous. And churches and Christians have this mindset of, all these people assembled and we all came together and put everything we had and overcame it, and we just give glory to God. What kind of picture are you painting? The world looks at that, rightly so, and says, they're just saying that God did it, but it was them. In these last days, and I'll try and close with this before I get too angry. If this doesn't cause reformation in you, then you're a fool. Because a wise man receives instruction. A wise man knows how to process criticism and pointing out failures. And they know that that's God helping them, telling them, hey, you got to get rid of this stuff. Because it's a despicable attitude. A despicable attitude? Did you say that my mindset is disgusting to God and makes Him want to puke? Yeah. And you know what a wise prayer is? God, if my mindset and my attitude is really making you feel like that, I want to do my part in this relationship. I want that fixed. Come into me, Lord. Fix my mindset and my heart and my attitude. Fix me. I don't want to make you feel sick, God. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the areas that I'm wrong. Teach me. Instruct me. Grow me. Just pray that prayer. God will deal with it. God will come in and say, listen, He'll come in with His word that says, by Jesus' stripes you were made whole. That says no plague comes near you. That says that God is the protector of your life. He's the strength of your life. He's got all kinds of good words for you.